On October 2, 2018, a man entered the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, and never walked out. His name was Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi journalist, a critic of the Saudi government, and a voice for truth. What happened inside those walls sent shockwaves across the world, exposing a brutal crime that many believed was orchestrated at the highest levels of power. This is the story of his life, his assassination, and the ongoing battle for justice. Who was Jamal Khashoggi? Jamal Khashoggi was not just any journalist. Born in 1958 in Medina, Saudi Arabia, he was part of a prominent family with close ties to the Saudi royal family. Over the years, he built a reputation as a fearless writer who sought to expose the truth, even when it was inconvenient for those in power. Khashoggi worked for several Saudi newspapers, including Al Watan, where he gained recognition for pushing the boundaries of free speech. However, his views became increasingly critical of Saudi policies, especially under the leadership of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, also known as MBS. By 2017, Khashoggi felt unsafe in Saudi Arabia and went into self-imposed exile in the United States, where he became a columnist for The Washington Post. His articles focused on issues of human rights, press freedom, and the direction Saudi Arabia was taking under MBS. He believed in reform, but was deeply concerned about the methods being used to suppress dissent. Despite his exile, he continued to speak out against human rights violations in Saudi Arabia, knowing the risks he was taking. But he never imagined that his fight for truth would cost him his life in such a brutal way. The fatal visit to the Saudi consulate. On October 2, 2018, Jamal Khashoggi entered the Saudi consulate in Istanbul to obtain documents that would allow him to marry his fiancée, Hatice Cengiz. She waited for him outside, unaware that this would be the last time she would see him alive. What happened inside the consulate remains one of the most chilling and disturbing events in recent history. According to intelligence reports and investigations, Khashoggi was ambushed by a team of Saudi operatives. He was strangled, killed, and dismembered within minutes of entering the building. Turkish authorities later revealed audio recordings that captured the gruesome murder, confirming the brutal manner in which he was killed. His body was never found, leading to speculation that his remains were either dissolved in acid or secretly removed from the consulate. The sheer brutality of the killing shocked the world. This was not an ordinary crime. It was an assassination carried out with precision, leaving behind a trail of evidence that pointed directly to the highest levels of Saudi leadership. The global outrage. News of Khashoggi's disappearance quickly spread, triggering international outrage. Initially, Saudi officials denied any involvement, claiming he had left the consulate unharmed. However, as pressure mounted and evidence surfaced, the Saudi government was forced to change its narrative multiple times. The most shocking revelation came when the CIA concluded with high confidence that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had ordered the assassination. Saudi officials denied this, instead blaming rogue operatives who, they claimed, acted without official orders. Governments around the world condemned the killing. The United Nations launched an investigation, and countries such as the United States imposed sanctions on individuals suspected of involvement. However, many critics argued that the response was not strong enough, as Saudi Arabia continued to maintain its powerful geopolitical position. The murder sparked debates about press freedom, diplomatic relations, and the dangers journalists face when they challenge oppressive regimes. Khashoggi's death was more than a tragedy. It was a symbol of the increasing threats against free speech and the growing impunity of authoritarian governments. The trial and its controversy. Under intense global scrutiny, Saudi Arabia conducted a trial for those accused of Khashoggi's murder. In December 2019, 8 individuals were sentenced, 5 to death and 3 to prison terms. However, the trial was widely criticized for its lack of transparency. Many key figures believed to have orchestrated the crime were either acquitted or never formally charged. The process was seen as a way to deflect blame from MBS and the Saudi leadership. In 2020, the death sentences were later commuted to prison terms, further fueling skepticism about the Saudi judicial process. The lack of accountability left a bitter taste in the mouths of human rights advocates and Khashoggi's loved ones. Justice, it seemed, was being swept under the rug in the name of political interests and economic alliances. Khashoggi's widow speaks out. As of 2024, Khashoggi's widow, Hanan Alatur Khashoggi, continues to fight for justice. She has appealed to international leaders, urging them to hold Saudi Arabia accountable. Recently, she called on UK Labour leader Keir Starmer to raise the issue in meetings with Saudi officials, emphasizing that she has never received an apology or compensation from the kingdom. Her relentless pursuit of justice keeps Khashoggi's story alive, reminding the world that the battle against censorship, authoritarianism, and human rights abuses is far from over. His fiancée, Hatice Cengiz, has also been vocal about seeking accountability. She has sued Saudi officials and spoken at global forums, ensuring that Khashoggi's voice continues to be heard even after his death. The bigger picture: press freedom and human rights. Jamal Khashoggi's assassination is not just about one man. It represents a larger struggle. Across the world, journalists face threats, imprisonment, and even death for speaking the truth. His murder became a symbol of the dangers that journalists encounter when they challenge authoritarian regimes. In response to his killing, The Washington Post and other media organizations launched initiatives to protect journalists and promote press freedom. The murder also intensified debates on Western countries' relationships with Saudi Arabia, particularly in terms of arms sales and political alliances. The chilling effect of Khashoggi's murder has been felt worldwide. Many journalists now think twice before speaking out against powerful governments, fearing they too could become targets. Yet, his legacy serves as a reminder that the fight for truth must go on, no matter the cost. What happens next? Despite the widespread condemnation, Saudi Arabia has faced minimal long-term consequences for Khashoggi's murder. MBS remains in power, and the kingdom continues to maintain strong economic and diplomatic ties with major world powers. However, Khashoggi's story continues to be a thorn in Saudi Arabia's reputation. His name remains a powerful reminder of the risks journalists take and the need for accountability in the international community. His fiancée, Hatice Cengiz, and his widow, Hanan Alatur Khashoggi, continue to call for justice. Human rights organizations demand further investigations, and some political leaders continue to pressure Saudi Arabia to accept responsibility. Jamal Khashoggi's assassination was meant to silence him, but instead, his voice became louder. His legacy lives on in the fight for press freedom, human rights, and the accountability of those in power. His story serves as a stark reminder that the truth cannot be buried, no matter how powerful those trying to silence it may be. As long as journalists, activists, and ordinary people continue to demand justice, the fight for truth will never end. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Let's keep the conversation going and ensure that voices like Khashoggi's are never forgotten.